Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to talk about the Philipp Schwartz initiative, which has been mentioned a few times. Let me just explain the Philipp Schwartz initiative first, and then focus on the questions at hand for our session today. As an overview of the Philipp Schwartz initiative, what is it? It is a funding program that enables host institutions in Germany, meaning higher education institutions or research institutions, to host at-risk scholars for 2 years initially. It's funded by the German Federal Foreign Office and a number of private foundations. And the logic of this program is a little special, meaning that it's host institutions that are in charge. Host institutions select the scholars that they wish to nominate for Philipp Schwartz Fellowship, and the Humboldt Foundation, my institution, actually provides funding to the host institution, which in turn can grant fellowships to scholars. Now, the effect of that is obviously that it ties in the institution, and as we've heard before, the institution and the academic mentors are just essential in thinking about long-term career perspectives. So what does the Philipp Schwartz Initiative funding entail? It's a 2-year fellowship originally, fully funded. Fully funded meaning it's 3,500 euros per month provided to the scholar, and an additional auxiliary funds of 20,000 euros, which are provided to the host institution, but which the host institution is supposed to use for scholars. So for each scholar, they will receive 20,000 euros, which can help build internal structures, support structures for at-risk academics. But mainly the point of those 20,000 is to allow for personalized individual trainings, coachings, taking part in academic conferences, etc. It's very flexible how you use those funds, but they are supposed to be used with the future perspective of the scholar in mind. Originally, as I said, it's 2 years of funding, but there is an option to extend by a 3rd year. The 3rd year is then a co-financing model. So the Humboldt Foundation will provide half of it, and the host institution will arrange for half of it. I'm saying arrange because it doesn't have to be funding that comes from the host institution. It can be funding that the scholar has obtained or the host institution has obtained from a third source. It can also be employment. We try to handle it as flexibly as possible so that there are not too many obstacles, because as we've heard before, 2 years is not a long time to re-establish a whole academic career, and 2 years is not a long time to re-establish a whole livelihood, especially when there are additional challenges such as resident status questions or traumatization and other challenges to overcome, as well as the academic challenges. Right, where are we at the Philipp Schwartz Initiative right now? It was launched in 2016, just 3 years ago, and let me just take a moment to thank Serena and Olga, basically in place of their organizations, because Scholars at Risk and the Scholar Rescue Fund, along with the Council for At-Risk Academics in the UK, have been, without the partnership that we've been able to build with them and continue to have with them, the Philipp Schwartz Initiative, I'm sure, wouldn't exist in the shape it does today. So thank you very much. Today, 3 years after our launch, we have about 160 Philipp Schwartz Fellows at a little over 70 institutions across Germany. Institutions vary a lot. It can be universities, it can be research institutions. The countries of origin, I think, almost mirror those of that Serena just explained. So the majority of scholars comes from Turkey, about 58%. From Syria, it's about 30%. But there's a number of other countries of origin that also that also matter in the Philipp Schwartz context, which is, for example, Burundi, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. So it's quite a wide range of countries of origin. Now, as I said, we have a 2 years plus 1 year system, meaning that now the first cohort of Philipp Schwartz Fellows has already come to the end of their fellowships or is looking at it and is faced with exactly the questions that were raised here in this context. And here, I think this is, let me explain the model of the Philipp Schwartz Initiative. As I said before, it's the host institutions that are in charge of selecting candidates, nominating candidates, and funding candidates. And within the host institution, it's basically a triangle of actors. Of course, it's the scholar, himself or herself. It's a project lead, which is usually part of the international office frequently, and there's the academic mentor. Those 3 roles are essential and indispensable for this program. And the way the program works is it ties all 3 actors into this, into thinking about long-term perspectives. Now, we don't have too much evidence from scholars who've managed to find placement, post-fellowship placements so far, although there are quite a number of them. What we do see, though, is that it's essential, a few points are essential. Thinking about career perspectives, developing concrete steps towards developing career perspectives has to be an important topic from day one. And not only for the scholar himself or herself, but also for the project lead and also for the academic mentor. Obviously, the project leader within the international offices or somewhere else in the university administration or leadership can provide opportunities such as coachings, trainings. The academic mentor can provide so many things, access to academic networks, to events, to conferences, to methodologies, to resources that the Humboldt Foundation just can't, and the project leaders can't either. So the academic mentor, it's essential to activate all 3 actors, including the academic mentor. But of course, probably the most important actor is the scholar himself or herself, finding out what are the exact strengths that they can provide to their host institution, what are the new perspectives, new research questions, new research methodologies, what is it that they bring into the host institution and into the entire academic discipline or network in Germany. But scholars, we've learned, must be quite realistic. It's been mentioned before, the competitiveness of research systems. It's the same in Germany, as only a small number of people in a postdoc stage will actually reach a stage, a professorship position. So this needs to be discussed openly between project leaders, between academic mentors and scholars. Scholars have to assess their situation and find the suitable opportunities. So what does Philipp Schwartz do to help with all those things? I mentioned in the beginning that we provide some funding. It's for the host institutions to allow for all those activities, be it professional language courses, proposal writing training, or providing funds to travel to academic conferences and things like that. We've also founded a Scholars at Risk Germany section, meaning all the members of the Scholars at Risk network internationally, the German members have formed a section in September 2016. It's being coordinated by the Humboldt Foundation, and this network provides an opportunity for host institutions to talk to each other, to exchange knowledge, to exchange best practices. And I think it's quite an active section, and we're really pleased to see that. The other thing that the Humboldt Foundation provides is yearly annual events during which we invite experts from different organizations to provide advice for scholars in the core questions that will prepare them for long-term perspectives. In fact, our conference is just starting on Monday, and Serena is going to be there. Somebody from SRF is also going to be there. And we're very happy that Scholars Risk is going to do a training just before our event for the scholars that are present there. This year, we've brought the Alliance of Science Organizations in Germany together. The Alliance is basically the 10 most important publicly funded research performing or research funding organizations. And they all work in slightly different segments. There are some that are more working in the technology or applied sciences sectors. There's basic research, of course. We brought those 10 organizations together. They're all sending experts who will provide advice and information for scholars who are trying to orient themselves within the German research system and try to assess their perspectives. But not only within the research system. I think it's quite important to keep in mind that there are options, opportunities outside the research system or adjacent to the research system. It doesn't have to be a researcher position always. It can be in industry, research-focused industry, or maybe a consultancy or advisory services. So we try to keep all those opportunities in mind and to provide information on all those options. Just as an example, some of the trainings we will be providing during our forum, our conference next week, is planning your career and developing opportunities, turning an idea into a job. So founding your own company, applying for funding, and understanding the quite complicated German research system. Those are just some of the things we try to do. What we also try to do, and we cannot repeat often enough, is try to activate the host institutions, the academic mentors, to become active, to network amongst them, each other. Without our help, without our input, what we try to do is provide a platform for this to happen. I hope this was a basis for further questions, and I hope I gave an overview of the Philipp Schwartz initiative and what we're trying to do, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.